Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So I thought I would do a quick little intro for this particular video because this features a piece of work that was inspired not only by the Bible but also by a photographer. So every time I take inspiration from somebody else, I want to give them credit. I don't want to make it seem like it was just my imagination that conjured up this idea. So with this particular painting, it formed part of a series of paintings that I've been working on. The title of the series is Dark Am I Yet... The aim of the paintings was essentially to confront societal ideologies about what black people are. For example, black people are strong is a concept that has been pushed and pushed and pushed through many different societies in this world for many years, and it's essentially my way of debunking these stereotypes and replacing them with biblical truths. So I'm going to talk more about the thoughts behind this particular painting when you watch the actual painting process, but what I wanted to say is that the image that I created was inspired by a photographer called Dan Carter. You can find him over on Instagram at Dan Carter. He is a photographer, a British photographer, but based currently in South Africa. He does amazing work, and he's in the process of doing some great things of reframing the view of Africa in general as a continent. Check out his work, it is incredible, you will be blown away. So this particular painting was inspired by this picture by Dan, and I saw this picture months and months prior to being inspired to create this series of paintings depicting black people. It wasn't until the idea about the series came up that I rediscovered this wonderful picture and thought this would look great as a painting. So that's exactly what I did. Now I'm going to get into the process. Remember to go check out Dan's account. The stuff is amazing. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the video.
Now, I don't know exactly what it was that drew me to recreating this photo as a painting, but it just seemed like the perfect fit for the aim or the image that I had in mind. So really, this painting was inspired by David, and I thought he was the perfect vessel through which to explore the notion of there being more to a person than what meets the eye. So in 1 Samuel verse 16, it is time for Samuel to go to the house of Jesse to anoint Israel's next king. So when Samuel gets there, he sees Jesse's oldest son, Eliab, and he thinks that he is the ideal candidate. And he says, "Surely this is the man the Lord wants me to anoint." To his surprise, God swiftly responds with, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. This idea of not looking at the outward appearance really takes on a completely different form in the following chapter, where we see people literally judging David's abilities on the basis of what he looks like, and more precisely, his age. So leading up to the moment where David rises to the challenge to take on Goliath, Samuel makes sure that we know that David was a young guy. There is a constant emphasis on his age, and somehow that places some emphasis on his potential size and in his height, and all of this really paints a picture of him being the most unlikely and potentially the worst candidate possible for this fight. So some examples are in 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 4. It says, a champion named Goliath, who was from Gath or Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. That comes up to about 9 foot 9 inches, or about 3 meters. So we now know that David was significantly shorter than Goliath. By the time we get to verse 14, it tells us that David was the youngest of his siblings, which already gives us the impression that he may also have been smaller in comparison. In verse 32, David says that he wants to go out and fight Goliath. Now, Saul, the king of Israel, responds with, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." So somehow David manages to convince Saul by giving him a little bit of back history on how God has stopped him from being attacked by a bear and also by a lion. Then we get to verse 42. Goliath looks at David and it says that he saw that he was little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him. Now, I don't know about you, but by the time we get to the point where David fights and defeats Goliath, I'm under the impression that David was about 2 foot tall. This whole story made me think about how man looks at the outward appearance in the modern day, and how black people are often considered as less qualified, incapable, not the ideal candidates, and so on. But this couldn't be further from how God views his people as a whole. This painting is essentially my way of saying that the altar is level, and that if it's God's will regardless of the outward appearance.